E.T. is one of the most critically beloved and commercially successful films of all time. With a lifetime worldwide box office of almost 800 million, E.T. could probably still get a sequel greenlit in seconds. So why didn't Universal phone home to see if they could get the little guy back for a second adventure? Here's why E.T. 2: Nocturnal Fears never happened. Stuck at the starting line. E.T. screenwriter Melissa Mathison struck up a creative relationship with director Steven Spielberg while she was dating Harrison Ford during filming for Raiders of the Lost Ark. According to producer Kathleen Kennedy, Spielberg was already a fan of her work on The Black Stallion, and after they hit it off, Mathison got the gig for E.T. Over $700 million in box office returns later, Spielberg wanted to see if she could make lightning strike twice with a follow-up, but the outline they sketched together was never anything more than a tentative stab at a sequel. A writer and director sitting down to bang out a 9-page treatment for an idea isn't anywhere close to pre-production. It got very dark. If E.T. 2 had followed the treatment written by Spielberg and Mathison, the film would have shown a group of aliens descending to Earth in response to the distress call from Zrek, which turns out to be E.T.'s real name. Cool, more little E.T.s, right? Not really. These albino mutations would have red eyes and razor-sharp teeth, kinda like E.T.'s evil neighbors or second cousins or something. They spend some time in the woods mutilating cattle and capturing animals in light cages before Elliot, Gertie, and their friends show up mistakenly thinking E.T. is back. The kids are interrogated and Elliot is tortured into unconsciousness while crying for E.T. to save him. Sounds like the perfect follow-up to a family-friendly classic, huh? The treatment has a happy ending, and it's obviously just a small part of a longer, more detailed story. But still, turning E.T. even partially into a horror movie seems like a stretch. Not to mention the Hershey Company would probably not be too thrilled to see Reese's Pieces being associated with sadistic intergalactic torturers.
Ah, Reese's Pieces.
Spielberg's first sequel. Steven Spielberg famously hated the idea of sequels for a long time, having declined Universal's request for another Jaws film for years, before they finally made one anyway without him. His treatment for E.T. 2: Nocturnal Fears was supposedly drafted just days after the original arrived in theaters, and might have been little more than the byproduct of the initial excitement. Spielberg eventually came around to the ideas of sequels when he filmed Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom 3 years later, but it should be pointed out that he's only ever done 4 sequels throughout his career, and they've been for 2 of the biggest movie franchises of all time, Indiana Jones and Jurassic Park. This is a guy who chooses his projects wisely, and the story of E.T.'s sadistic relatives clearly didn't fit into his artistic vision. One and done. E.T. is a timeless classic, and a fully realized story with likable characters, great visual effects, and above all, a feel-good resolution about friendship and love that audiences of all kinds can appreciate. Spielberg said it himself in an interview with Empire magazine in 2009. E.T. is a closed story. It had a beginning, middle, and a definite ending, and we had nowhere to take it except to go home with him. Nor did I want to bring him back to Earth for a second time. E.T. isn't an action hero who's only just shown us the beginning of what he can do. Making an E.T. sequel would have been akin to making It's a Wonderful Life 2, which also almost happened. Thanks, Hollywood. Spielberg pulled the plug. In a speech to the American Film Institute, Spielberg said, "I think a sequel to E.T. would do nothing but rob the original of its virginity. People only remember the latest episode while the pilot tarnishes," which is quite a reverential way to talk about a movie featuring a cross-dressing, candy-binging alien who communicates through a speak and spell. But it also begs the question, when did he change his mind? And why didn't he give George Lucas his memo decades ago?
I'll try spinning. That's a good trick.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe to our YouTube channel to watch more videos like the one you just saw, and leave us a comment to let us know if you'd like to see a sequel to E.T.